It's the 24th of May, 2009, Memorial Day weekend, and we're in Essex, New York. Here is a sign in front of the beautiful Essex Community Church. And we've come down to the church for a luncheon to honor our good friend and cartoonist Sid Couchey, who is celebrating his 90th birthday. And our good friend, Reverend Jim Sorley, who was at this church for some time, invited us to come down. We've talked to the minister, and they're delighted to have us here. And we're kind of thrilled, Kay and I, to come down here just to say happy 90th birthday to Sid and meet his wife Ruth and celebrate his wonderful career. We're inside the church. One meatball.
Yeah, no bread with one meatball.
Happy birthday, Sid.
Thank you very much.
Ruthie, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Did you sing in church this morning?
I certainly did.
What did you sing?
We sang 3 numbers. We sang a lot of them.
Because he lives.
And he picked out the hymns for this morning.
Oh, really? Did you sing loudly, Sydney?
Well, that's another story, but I was kind of looking at the lyrics, and so
I saw him blowing his nose.
I got kind of choked up.
I love it. You've been singing for a long time, Ruthie.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm going to let you eat your lunch, and we'll talk to you a little bit later, but we just want to start it out with a hearty happy birthday. We'll talk to you later, guys.
Very good.
I go home down at 7 at the house and take a train in a few minutes.
Children's book author Stephen Kellogg is here saying hi to Sid and Ruth and wishing her well and wishing Sid well on his 90th birthday.
I'll be walking by. I look forward to seeing you.
This little community church in Essex is bubbling with enthusiasm today for all the people who are here to wish Sid a happy 90th.
Take care and have fun. I will.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sid. Happy birthday to you.
You want us to do it again?
Well, no. You got enough
I am the first on the program to speak, and I've said everything I'm going to say, so the next person on the program is...
Enough win?
Catherine. Okay.
Yes.
Hey, John, we're going to cut the cake and just have a share some.
You mean the little one over here?
If you can't hear me, raise your hand. Next is Sid, or the oldest person here. So Sid and I are really honored to get to be this old. I've known Sid forever. When he came to Essex as a teenager, I think I was around 12 years old. And so I really don't remember too much about that. But we had a high school in Essex, and I don't know if many of you know it. It was at the top of the hill, Schoolhouse Hill, I guess the name of it is. And it was first grade through 12th grade. And Sid came, he was in high school. We all met in, like you people all have homerooms, but when you're in high school you have one homeroom, and it was the study hall. My class that graduated was 14, and that was a big class, so you know how enormous we were. But I'll say one thing about the school. It was superior. And it has produced superior people. Sid is one of them.
One more time, everybody. Amen. I wasn't there.
Now, there's one thing I want to clear up with Sidney Couchey. Because he has been telling this tale as long as I've known him. When he walked through the study hall, he had corduroy pants on and they swished. And he said that, I laughed at him, but I didn't. I know it was one of the other girls.
Won't say who.
In our school, we had a paper called The Eavesdropper. And I had several issues of it at home, and to remind myself of the past, I looked them through. And I found that Sid appeared in the gossip column many, many times. But I'm not going to go on from that. Sid was an honor student. He was the art editor of The Eavesdropper, and he was a star baseball player. I couldn't find his name under the soccer list, so I don't know about that. In 1938, the best pitch game against Keysville was pitched by Couchey. The result of the game, Essex 7, Keysville 1. Now this was a league game, and that year Essex was second standing in the league, thanks to Sid's good pitching. Each year the drama club had an operetta or a play. And by reading The Eavesdropper, I couldn't remember this, but I found it. We had an operetta called Old Country Garden. I don't know if Sid remembers it, but he was Colonel Staunton. You remember it, Sid? I don't think he does. Sid was a lot of fun. He had a great sense of humor. Now, one incident I didn't witness, but it was a talk of the high school, involved Sid and the English teacher, Miss Danahy.
One more time.
Sid had long fingernails, and he would scratch his back and make very annoying noises. So Miss Danahy had him come up front, and she cut off his fingernails. The next day, Miss Danahy was again amazed to hear this scratching noise, and looking around, she found that Sid had brought a long handle back scratcher and was sitting there scratching his back. Aside from school, there was church. Our pastor's daughter, Marilla, had a youth fellowship group called the High Adventurers, and I think we've all talked about it 100 times. They met every Sunday in the attic at the manse. I don't know whether Sid was in that attic group or not because I was too young to go. However, when I attended High Adventures, it was in the manse living room, and it was just filled with young people. They even spilled over into the dining room, and if you've been to our manse, you can understand that. And I don't know if it was what we were learning or what we were eating that caused the crowd, but every night, Sunday night, the pastor, George Webster, made panucci and passed it out to all of us. In the summer, Sid's cousins came, and the Couchey crew and the village kids all got together. We had marshmallow rows and beach parties and went swimming and had lots of fun. Now, then, unfortunately, for all of us young people at that time, World War came, II came, and all of our friends and the fellows all left. But later on, when Sid and Ruth came back, Sid was very helpful in starting and working with the youth fellowship in the church. I'm very fortunate to be able to know Sid, and we're all fortunate to have someone among us that is so talented and so much full of so much fun. Happy birthday, Sid.
No.
What I would really like, and could I have
He's going to speak
a
anyway.
last say on who speaks from now on?
This is Jim LaForest,
Yeah.
hiding in the kitchen. Oh, here he comes.
Hi, Gordy.
Hi, Jim.
He'll have a chance.
When John Hahn asked me to talk, he said I had to restrict myself because Catherine Cross was going to go on and on and on. 25 words of saying nothing but good things about Sid. All right, does anyone else have anything to say about Sid? You know, 25 words or less is quite a challenge. For instance, Gordy Little can't even clear his throat in 25 words or less. But here's what I would have said if I wasn't restricted to 25 words or less.
You're not restricted.
I thought you said 25.
I told him that.
Oh, should You think it's easy living with all this respect that I get?
That was a joke.
Oh. Well, welcome to Sid's 123rd birthday celebration. He has more celebrations than he has hair on his head. I invited a lot of people to come here. I said, come and see Sid's party. I think they misunderstood what I was saying when I used the word party. On the other hand, Tony's been working on his bathroom for a while, so maybe they didn't think I meant come and look at his party.
A little late, everybody can come.
A little late, right. You know, they're making a big deal about this soldier who went off into combat just wearing his underwear. That's nothing so great. 50 years ago, a great Essex hero himself went off into combat, and I thought you might like to all look at this picture of Sid going off to combat. You can pass it down.
Did you get a picture of that?
I love it.
Yeah. There.
I don't know.
Now Sid likes to talk in bubbles, so I got a bubble for Sid. And normally at the DNC when Sid starts to talk, we always say, well, is that germane to the issue? But it doesn't work out. Finally, I can think of something nice to say about Sid. Well, I was able to, but it slipped my mind. Thank you very much.
And this is Tom Carrick.
Jim and I have something in common. We have wives who like to tell us what we can do. My wife did not say 25 words, she said 5 minutes. And I think that's probably good. I know it's a dangerous thing to say, particularly in this company, but Sid is my friend. And I'm really happy today to acknowledge 50 years of friendship. But you know, when I was thinking about it, and Catherine's talking about how long she has been a friend, and I only knew him the last half of his life so far. So I don't know what went on beforehand, but I got some pretty good pictures from what she said. And I'm glad that somebody's talking about the time before I came along. But it is a privilege, I think, to acknowledge a man of faith. He always believed that God was going to lead and provide. When I first met him, he was a member of Calvary Baptist Church on 57th Street in New York City. He hasn't forgotten that yet, I don't think. But God led and provided him with membership in a wonderful Methodist church right here. And we're all happy for that. He's seen the light. Sid's always been a man to look up to. About 40 years ago, Sid and Ruth came on one of the Thanksgiving holidays. Their family spent about 35 of their Thanksgivings with us. We've been allowed to spend 2 with them since we've been here, but we don't count that. But anyway, on one of these visits, we have to carefully get ready for him because we knew what a man of faith he was and how his beliefs ran, and so we didn't think it was a very good idea for Sid to know that we enjoyed a glass of wine now and then. And so we hid all that sort of thing when they came. But Sid has a habit of opening doors into closets and things like that. And one day I walked in and there he was, and he had a bottle of Bailey's Irish Cream and he was holding it. And I thought, oh, our cover is gone. Now he knows. And I looked at him sheepishly thinking, what am I going to say? He said, Tom, this is my favorite. Do you think I could have some? So I learned a little bit more about Sid then. Then his friendship moved on a little bit before we moved up here. And finally, after a lot of pleading, he agreed to sell me his ice fishing painting, which you might have seen up at the show last summer. And it's hung in our house most of the time for the last 35 or so years. And I say it's hung in our house most of the time because the rest of the time I've been trying to get it back from him. He has ostensibly borrowed it to put in the show and then didn't return it and took it home. And then I had to go down and take it off the wall and bring it back. Finally, Ruth said, Tom, the last time, she said, Tom, if you want your painting back, you have to go get it, and don't let him take it, and you take it home, which I learned to do. But Sid understands these things. Then about 15 years ago, Bea and I decided to move to Essex. Bea wanted to be close to her maid of honor from our wedding and from Sid's wedding, and Ruth, and she was very happy about that, and we were thrilled to be close to them. But I had another reason for wanting to come. In all my married life, I've never had a close friend who could be of real help to me when I needed it. You know, somebody with a hammer, or who could change a light bulb, or something like that. And I thought, we're going to be moving up there near Sid. He can help me. I found out that the only person I know of who is more inept than I am, if there's possible, is Sid. And I think our friendship has been sustained over the years by this common failure. Then with the advent of the DNC, in addition to being the sage of that group, and he is the sage, and he tells you at length how he is the sage, Sid became their official artist. And today his DNC artwork is proudly hanging on display in our house, and people come often to see it, and it hangs in all of its full glory in our bathroom. A few years back, June Lawrence, I thought, could tell you exactly when, but I asked her this morning, and she couldn't tell me exactly when. But there was a parade here in town, And Sid was the marshal of the parade. And you see some of the T-shirts that some people were wearing that day. And I thought that since Jim showed you Sid with the bottoms off, I'll show you me with the top off. And this was mine. If you notice, it's still in good shape because I haven't had the nerve to wear it. But he said that as soon as I did that, I had to stop talking. So all I can say now is happy birthday, Sid.
I know that probably everyone here would like to say something. And that might take until tomorrow. But we do want to give an opportunity for all of you to sign a card that is there. And there's also, where is it? On the door. It's on the door. Doug Hayden made a large card on the door, and please sign that. But if there's anyone who particularly feels an urgency to say a word.
I do.
Wait until next week.
Would ask you please to keep it short.
It'd be very short. You know, we're talking about footprints and the footprints that we leave in society. Sid, your footprint will live forever in your artwork. We all have enjoyed so many of them, and they will last probably longer than you, but they will be there. And what a wonderful tribute, and thank you so much for sharing that.
Amen to that.
My little sister and I were walking home from the village, each carrying a pie from the church or library bake sale. We had two brothers who were voracious eaters and a father and mother. So I said, let's get 2 pies. Do you know how hard it is to walk 1.5 miles carrying a pie? So this old man pulled up. I got to South Farm in this kind of old looking car. And his window was down and he said, aren't you the Brooks girls? And my sister was like 8 years old. And she said, who is he? And I said, yes, and we kept walking, and my sister said, you can't take a ride from him, we're not allowed to do that. and Sid kept inching up his car as we kept walking, and he said, would you like a ride back to your camp? And my sister said, no, thank you. We kept walking, and Sid kept inching up his car, and I said, Marcia, my arms are about to break off. So I said, yes, thank you. And he said, I'm Sid Couchey. I know your father from long ago. My sister would not get in the front seat. I put her in the back seat. So he was very kind to pick us up. Later, I came to my first church dinner here when my first husband was back from Vietnam, out of the army. I knew I had to bring something. I made stuffed mushrooms, one of the few elegant recipes I knew. And most of the table was filled with Jell-O salads and macaroni and cheese and baked beans. And Sid stood up and said, wow, I see, Betsy is up the ante here. I didn't know really what he meant, but it was a very nice welcome.
You were going to say, Betsy, that he ate the pie.
Pass them around, just feel free to do so. But these comic books came all the way from South Carolina, and Paula Calkins found them down there and brought them back to us. So I thought I'd pass them around, you could take a look.
Jim?
One of the great moments of my ministry was when this church held a celebration for my retirement. Take that any way you wish. A lot of nice things were said about me, and that was very gratifying. Then this morning, John Hunn told me "Do you remember what Sid Couchey said about you?" I said, "No." Well, he said, he got up and said, "If you can't say anything good about a person, don't say anything," and then he sat down. Well, Sid, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to be that kind. I'm not going to sit down. I wondered all night what bad things I could say about Sid. Couldn't sleep. Then I hit a stone wall. And I couldn't come up with anything. You know, yeah, I hit a stone wall. Sid said, there was a man that said, "There's not a man in the whole world that I don't like." You know who that was? Will Rogers. Will Rogers. He said that. And that is sort of like Sid. There's not a man in the whole world he doesn't like, but I would like to add something. There's not a lady in the whole world. My wife joined this church in 1994, and it's sort of a ritual that after you join the church, people shake your hand or give you a hug. Well, he gave my wife a hug, and every year on the anniversary of her joining, he says, "Did you join the church?" She said, "Yes." He said, "Well, I have to give you a hug."
This fits right in with Betsy's story.
But since I was here and I came here in '93, Sid was Mr. Community Church, Methodist Church. If you wanted a hug, you got it from Sid. If you wanted to be welcomed, you got it from Sid. If you wanted spiritual inspiration, you got it from Sid. Sid was this church in its best way to be. Thank you very much, Sid, for being part of it.
That's Jim Sorley, obviously. He was the former minister of this community church.
Charlotte Stott.
The Stotts family has a present for Sid.
Oh, thank you very much. Am I to open it now? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Tony, a couple of brief words from the family. So use your imagination a little bit. Imagine me a little bit more around the girth, a little balder.
You talking about Brian?
Yeah, Brian. Yeah, just a little bit like him. So, Brian, message from Brian. Only recently have I been able to say that I've been around for more than half of your life, Dad. Sorry, Laura, you can't say that yet. On this occasion, I want to say that I'm happy to have been here for it. And while we were growing up, I presume he's talking about Brian and Sid. While we were growing up, you were a totally cool dad. Not only did you carry me around on your shoulders, but I think you spent a lot of time helping me learn to walk on my own. Once I was grown and went off to college, and then to a life with my own super family, I think he meant super-sized family, I went and found that you still have a wonderful place in my life and our family, and I'm so blessed to have a dad like you.
Unfortunately, I didn't get the Couchey gene for spontaneous public speeches, but I am a writer, so I wrote down a memory. Being a sensitive kid, my parents felt compelled to protect me from the world's unkindness. One fiction went like this. We bought a piglet from a local farmer, raised him like a pet, and then gave him back to the farmer who let him live out the rest of his life, wallowing happily like Wilbur in Charlotte's Web. The real bloody deal was carefully hidden from me. I should have wondered why my brother and I had to stay in the car after we came home from church one Sunday. I found out only recently that Dad was shoveling the snow over the red trail stretching down the yard. I should have noticed that our freezer in the garage was suddenly bulging with pork. My father tried to reason with me with a saint's patience while tears of outrage streamed down my face that it was okay to burn the tent caterpillars out of the tree because we were saving the poor tree that had been alive much longer than those little caterpillars. He allowed me to scour the yard, picking all the wildflowers before he mowed to extend their lives a few more days on Mom's kitchen table. And when I found an old gun rack hanging in the garage, made out of real deer's feet bent in unnatural ways, I demanded an explanation. He admitted that his father had made it. I was disappointed in Grandpa, but relieved that Dad wasn't a closet hunter. Now I know that sensitivity is only the apple not falling far from the tree. Dad once walked carefully out on the ice to save a goose whose wing had become frozen in the lake overnight. He put hay in the garage and called the park ranger to find out what to feed it. When we let him go that spring, wing healed, it was a glorious and painful moment. The goose walked all the way down the yard as if he had forgotten he could fly. Then suddenly he saw the lake and started running. Then lifted off. We all soared. There were scores of animals like that goose, hurt and bedraggled, he brought home to nurse back to health during my childhood. A raccoon, a cowbird, a seagull, even a mole we fed with a medicine dropper. The chickadees still come and land on his head and hands to eat the sunflower seeds he always has. Some years he has chipmunks tamed. One year even a skitterish crow hopped up to him for bread. Now I have a family of my own, and my oldest son Lucas, who's 5, recently would not let me kill some tent caterpillars. He had to carefully remove the nest and put it in a container with holes, and they are now his pets. Sometimes I have a moment when I can't believe I'm driving several miles down the road to the farmer's field with a mouse sitting next to me in a humane trap, ready for relocation. But when I see Lucas set him free and laugh as he jumps and squeaks for joy, or when Lucas reminds me that he speaks owl and chickadee in addition to human, I have to smile and think of Dad. Most of you already know what a warm human being he is, what a people person, but I thought you'd like to know that his compassion extends even to the tiniest of creatures. Except the pig. Still working that out. Love you, Dad. Happy birthday.
So he stood 90 years on the floor. God gave him good health, so he stood by himself when he spoke. And then he spoke a bit more. Pen in hand on the morn of the day that he was born, his art brought him all joy and great fame. But he stopped playing short when he threw that first pitch at the Cleveland Indians game. That's as far as I got, Sid. We have a certificate, Most Valuable Player Award, presented to Sid Couchey in recognition of outstanding effort, extraordinary teamwork, and exemplary attitude in Christian living and service to our Lord. And I think Jim Sorley really said it all. And it's signed by me and Don Hollingsworth, the chairman of the trustees, and Lee Ackley, the lay leader. And then, Sid, we talked to Tony about what might be a good gift. And now this is serious. A gift certificate from all your friends and neighbors in honor of your special celebration. Your friends and neighbors have joined together to provide for repairs to your exterior steps to be completed early this summer. Happy birthday, Sid. Now, in 25 words or less, you can speak.
Well, this surprises me that I have a word or two. But I really appreciate all this badgering me and picking on me, because if anybody got up and said something nice about me, I couldn't take it. But anyway, Catherine, you might be surprised to know that I have some old eavesdroppers too. So to save some time, I'm going to read so you know it's true, because it comes out one of those great school papers, the eavesdroppers. Charlie, will you please get under those books, the red Bible, under there, on the top of the shelf, there's a yellow manila envelope.
Oh boy, we're in for it.
It just happened to be here.
I saw him come in with that this morning, and I said, I hope that's not your notes.
No, it's just a rough outline. Anyway, there's lots of things, but I expect you folks to take pot shots at me, people from the DNC and all that, but from my own family, from my wife, when you get up in years, you don't just believe in miracles, you rely on them. And another one, I've got a birthday story that'll turn your hair gray. Oh, I see you've already heard. 1935, eavesdropper. And I was 15 or 16. And all these editors, some would know Catherine Stark. Guess who Catherine Stark is? Catherine Cross. Grace Burns. Grace McLeod. And Sid Couchey was the same old. Anyway, Shirley Perry. Anyway, go on, I could be forever. But there's some interesting things which, in the interest of time, I'll read. In the interest of making it. No, the advertisers were Richard Williams Store, Lakeshore Compliments of John Burnham. And there's a story by Grace Burns. There was one by Catherine, a bunch of stuff. But I'll read a couple poems. There's several poems I did too. This is number 15 or 16, and this is really prophetic, because Ruth loves her coffee in an entirely different way than I do. And here I am, 15 years old, and I'm looking to the future. Now tell me the events in their logical course which have now caused you to sue for divorce. This from a judge to a man who is pale, who, with uncertain terms, commenced with his tale. Amidst all the troubles of the wife and me is a peculiar difference, that of coffee. She likes it hot, I like it cold. She likes it fresh, I like it old. She likes the cans, I like the sack. She says too sweet, I say it lacks. She likes percolator, I like the drip. She likes to gulp it, I like to sip. Thus am I driven to make this request, to end my wed life with the aforesaid pest. And the judge says, although I'll agree your case is a shame, I'm afraid that your plight has no legal name. And until in a word you can state in the name for what you are suing, it's still ball and chain. Well, that's easy, Judge. My anger bounds. I'm going to sue her on coffee more. Okay. Well, this is, I was getting ready, this is a later one. He who boasts of tropic heat has never been in the commencement seat, nor has he who at torture smiles walked with the seniors down graduation aisle. There they wiggle and squirm and sweat and beef and stew and perspire and fret. For the hottest seat in all creation is on the platform at graduation. Okay, men is a business somewhere. Anyway.
And what did this prompt you? Secure?
Yeah, ugly Chinese man. That day he came before the judge, his whole soul had been fired. He gave his name as So Sing Lo and took the oath required. He told of the night at the laundryman's ball, which he had been attending. A stranger, it seems, had tripped him up and ridiculed his men. Now So Sing Lo was very hurt, for he took great pride in the art of the shirt. So he decided right then and there to whip this intruder and give him a scare. And so they fought all that night and half of the next. They sure were a sight when at last they relaxed, and when their breath, at last they could catch it, it was So Sing who spoke. Let's bury the hatchet. And So Sing did, as he said, he buried the hatchet in the stranger's head. One of the big times in my life, there was three, like Jim said, there was an occasion like this that Jim and Ronnie and different ones, and Elsa, of course, planned, and also sent Ruth and I down to Yankee Stadium for a weekend to see Cleveland Indians play the Yankees twice. And there was, at that time I said there was one other time which was comparable, and that was in the mid-'80s when I was invited out, Ruth and I were invited out to Kansas City to a national comics convention, and they awarded two guys in a way a lot better known than I was. Lee Falk, who did the Phantom for years and years, and two other guys, John Byrne, and then there was a Mexican film, I can't remember. Anyway, he gave me the Lifetime Achievement Award. And then they all together, and this was a nice part of it, since baseball fits in all, they sent us out, and they gave us prime seats at actually American League baseball game in Kansas City against somebody. But anyway, this is an event that compares very favorably with even those things, and I really appreciate it. And I'll remember this for, well, now it's safe to say for as long as I live.
And when we come outside after that wonderful luncheon for Sid Couchey's 90th birthday, the sun is shining just as it should be on this Memorial Day weekend. Again, for those of you who are seeing Sid Couchey for the first time, just look up Sid Couchey on Yahoo or Google. You'll find him in Wikipedia and how many other places for his wonderful cartoon work. And we're doing this near the end of May. On June 5th, there will be an exhibit of his Champy paintings in the North Country, so you can look forward to that on through the summer and fall months in the future. Thank you all for watching our little corner.